Hi everyone, I'm the Plant Propagator and welcome to my channel. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about what I do, please subscribe to my channel. Today it's a beautiful day in Southwest Florida. It is late April and it is, 88 degrees, but it's dry and the wind is blowing and it's just a beautiful day. What I want to do today is show you some of the orchids. I don't have too many orchids in bloom, so this is going to be Orchids Plus, where we're going to be looking at some other plants that I have blooming and tell you a little bit of stories behind them, but I want to show you some orchids as well. And today it's a special day for me because I have the Plant Propagator Jr. that is behind the camera, so that's recording all of this. So I also want to highlight some of the plants that she gifted me and show you the status of some of those as well. So the first thing I want you to take a look at is down here, and these are well, let's start out with this Dendrobium, starting to bloom again. Pretty nice. Not a great flower, but it's nice, and this thing just seems to keep on blooming. It's doing really well. The other thing is that I want to show you the phals, and these phals, this was just loaded for the past 2 months. They're starting to decline a little bit, and what I did was I started making crosses of these guys pretty late in the game, just because I haven't done any Phalaenopsis crosses before. And this is one of the seed capsules that I have here. This was pollinated, a little over 3 weeks ago, and you can see the seed capsule that formed here. This Phalaenopsis, as well as most of them that I have, are no ID. So I don't like doing this, but I've never made a Phalaenopsis cross before. I've never done seed culture of phals. So I just did this because I wanted to see how it worked and what kind of plants I would get from this, and how long it would take the seed capsule to form and then the plants to get there. I have a couple more seed capsules right here. And again, these guys I crossed with more no ID Phalaenopsis. So I'll just see what happens. This is just a little experiment. We'll see how it goes. So over here is another den that is, I'm not sure if this one's bloomed before, but it's putting out another bloom spike. So I'm happy. I'm always happy when plants grow and when they put out bloom spikes. No flowers on this guy yet, but take a look over on this tree over here. There's again more phals that are blooming, and these been blooming for a little while, and these are okay. Nice color, and it's fine, but it's just for me it's just another phal. But I do want to show you, I want to highlight this plant right here, and the reason I want to show you this is because this is a Digbiana cross that was gifted to me by Plant Propagator Jr. And it was in the tree, and I think a bird landed on it and knocked it out. And when I was shoving it back down in the base of the petiole here, I scraped the eye, which is right here. And I was depressed for a couple of weeks, and I thought, okay, this plant isn't going to make it. But lo and behold, I strapped it in there a little bit better, and the eye is actually still alive and it's growing, and I'm pretty excited about this. So yay, this plant looks like it's gonna be okay, and the eye's growing, and I'm really happy about that. The other thing is I want to show you a couple more things here, and one of the things is this is a Cattleya that I grew from seed right here, put out another leaf, and I'm pretty happy about this. And then going down a little bit further, there's another pseudobulb coming out of this same, and I think it's the same Cattleya that I have here. But there's another leaf coming out on it, and I'm excited about that. I'm not sure how long it's going to take to flower, a little bit longer. But the other thing, final thing here is look at these. So these are some seed capsules, and these are now 2 months old. So this is Momolani Brainbow, and I made 3 different crosses on this plant that was also loaded. And these capsules are maturing nicely. It's also putting out some nice pseudobulbs that are behind the plant. So this plant is just growing really, really vigorously. So pseudobulb right back in here, and then a few more in there as well. But the seed capsules look pretty good, and I'm happy that things are progressing with this. So pretty soon I will have a lot of seed capsules that I'll have to harvest, and I'll have a lot of seed from that as well. So I want to take a look. We'll take a look at some other plants that are not orchids, and I want to share with you some stories behind those. Okay, as you can tell, maybe not an orchid flower. This is a daylily flower, and this is one of my favorite flowers because it's brightly colored. It's real fragrant. So this daylily and this plant started out in growing in the Midwest U.S. And I have a lot of these. I started out with, I had a friend who was a daylily breeder, and daylily means that the flowers on this plant will only open for a day and then they'll fall off. So yesterday, it was a nice day. There were 4 flowers on this plant. Today, there's only 2 flowers. Tomorrow, from looking at some of the buds, there'll be maybe another 2 flowers will be open on this. But I've been growing daylilies for years, and they do really well in the Midwest U.S. And I didn't know how they would do here, and it took a while for this plant to put out flowers, but it's been blooming pretty aggressively for the past couple of years, and I really like this plant. So I transplanted this from my other house, brought it down here, and now it's doing real well. I started out with 20 plants, but now I have probably about 50 or 60 of these because these things are really easy to pollinate and get seed from. And what happened is the Plant Propagator Jr. helped me early on with this project to do pollination and to get seeds. So these are the anthers right here, and these are yellow, and they're different from orchid because orchid have pollinia, which is a sac of pollen. These produce individual pollens, but the parts of the flower are really easy to identify, and a pollination is really easy to do. So I'm going to crack this anther off here. So we have this, and you can see the yellow pollen on the end of this, and we're just going to touch it to the stigmatic surface right here. And so this is a cross that actually it's just a self that I made, but you can see the pollen that comes off, and you can see how the pollen came off there. So this is just a self, and if I wanted to keep this on here, I would generate, anywhere from 10 to 20 seeds, not as many as what you have with orchids. But what it does is it lets you, if you want to expand your collection and play with making new crosses and making new plants. The other flower that I want to show you down here that's not an orchid flower is this flower right down here, and this is a Plumeria, and this is a Plumeria that I actually paid a lot of money for. It's got really nice colors to it. It's been in this location for maybe a year. And what happens with Plumeria is that they lose all the leaves, and then the leaves start growing, and then they put out the flowers. So this is again a plant that I paid a lot of money for, that I think the flowers are just incredible. And it's doing well. It's a smaller plant, but it's doing well. What I want to do now is kind of show you another non-orchid flower, and I want to show you another Plumeria that I have growing at the back of my house that I didn't pay anything for, that Tom down the street gifted to me. So I want to show you what that one looks like, and let's go take a look. Okay, and now I'm at another Plumeria in my backyard. So this was a Plumeria that was gifted to me by Tom down the street, and he gave it to me. It started out with a small plant, and as you can see, it's almost 6 feet tall. This has been in this location for maybe about 3 years. It had not bloomed yet. I have a rule in my yard as far as most flowers go, that I generally try not to take white flowers because they're lost on the white fence. But white is the absence of color, so I like color. I asked him what this was, and he said, "What color do you want it to be?" And I said, "Red." And he says, "That's what it is." And it bloomed for the first time. If it was white, I was going to pull it out. If it was red, I was going to keep it. If it was pink, it was like I was going to keep it, but begrudgingly. So I was going to hold on to it, but I don't like, pink's okay. Anyway, I was real excited to see that these flowers look similar to the flowers that are in the front. It's not as bright, so what I'm going to do is put these side by side so you can see what the flowers look like. But it's a nice flower, and the thing about this is you can't tell from the one that I showed you before, but look at all the flowers. This thing's loaded. The other nice thing about this, I don't want to bend this over, but the other nice thing about this is this is fragrant. And both the one that I showed you earlier and this one, the one I showed you earlier is a little more fragrant. It's nicer. There's different fragrance like orchids that are associated with these things. But I'm pretty happy. This is a nice plant. And this is going to get pretty, well, it already is big, but it's going to get big. So these guys can get pretty tall. And this is just a few years of growth. Last year, this probably grew about 1 meter or 3 feet just over last year. The other nice thing is that there's another flower right here that's coming out. So I'm gonna get more flowers on this. So this is doing real well. I'm pretty happy with how it looks. And this is my other non-orchid flower that I wanted to share with you. So let's take a look at some orchids and we'll go from here. Okay, so we are back with orchids now, and I wanted to show you, I've showed you this before, so this is a Dendrobium that just seems to be always flowering back here. So this is a white, no ID Dendrobium that I have that's fragrant. It's got some nice fragrance to it. There's a flower spike here, and then there's a flower spike right here as well. So this is a big plant that just keeps on putting out more and more flowers. I've got some other, I've had keikis from this that have done well, and so I'm pretty happy with how this guy has done. I do want to show you some other plants here. So this is a Dendrobium that was gifted to me by the Plant Propagator Jr., and I got some more keikis coming out on this guy right here. So seems to be doing pretty well. I think it's got a lot of growth that we still have to have here, but doing okay. The other one that I want to show you that was another gift from Plant Propagator Jr. is right here. And this is a Brassivola Digbiana, and this was a cutting that she gave me, and what I want you to see is right here. So we've got a new pseudobulb growing out of here, and I'm pretty excited about that. Again, this is a small plant. It's going to take a while to bloom, but I'm pretty excited that that it actually put out a lot of roots, and it seems to be doing pretty well. So that's another one. Taking a look at more of the Plant Propagator Jr. plants. This Vanda, this is actually, she didn't gift to me. This is hers, but it's not going anywhere. So it's mounted on the tree here in Southwest Florida. That's a red-bellied woodpecker that's been going to town on the tree behind me. Anyway, this Vanda's doing really well. This was gifted to her, and then she mounted it on the tree, and this is doing pretty well. It's got a lot of nice big roots growing out, a lot of roots that have attached themselves on the tree, so it's doing pretty well. And then right behind it, there's yet another Vanda that's got some nice roots coming out on it. And it was attached and then got knocked off from the woodpecker tree behind me. One of the limbs fell out and just bashed this plant off, and I put it back up here, and it seems to have recovered pretty well. So this is another one that is doing pretty well, but these roots are pretty new, and it's attaching to the tree pretty nicely. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of other plants here. And what I have here, we're going to move back to non-Vanda. So this is an amaryllis that has grown here, and these are really pretty easy to propagate. You can make seeds. It's got big flower parts, just like the daylily that I showed you a little bit earlier in the video. But the other thing is that if you look at the base, you can see that there's a number of different leaf groups that are coming out. And what happens is the bulb that's underneath this splits. So there's a lot of plants that are part of this plant, and anytime you want more of these guys, it's really simple to just dig up new bulbs and then move those to different locations. But these are really nice, pretty flowers here. The thing is, the flowers may be a little bit short-lived, but there's so many of them on each spike. There's usually 4 of them. This one, this is a later spike, and this hasn't really opened well yet, but there's 2 more flowers right here, and this thing has been blooming really for maybe a couple of weeks, but it probably only has another week or 2 to go. So short-lived. I don't like them that much because the flowers, compared to orchids and some of my other plants, the flowers are kind of short-lived, but it does put on a really nice, quick display. Okay, moving back here, I want to show you one of my orchids that is one of my favorites, and this guy is blooming. This bloom just opened yesterday. So this is a great plant. I bought this a couple of years ago from Odom Orchids, and this is called this is Robert Strait Islander Delight crossed with Brian Wheeler grandson, and I think this I bought it when it was not named, but the name of this I think is Odom's Grand Delight. I think that's the name of this thing, but I really like this because it's just incredibly vigorous. This blooms 2 times a year. The flowers are big, really, they're fragrant and colorful. And I mean, the purple coloration, right? Look how rich that is. And I just really like it. So I've been using it in some of my crosses. I've crossed it onto some other plants. And then in this case, I crossed something onto the previous flowers here. So I've got some seedlings coming from this already. And then I've got this seed capsule that'll be ready in a few months. So we'll see how these goes. But anyway, this is one of my favorites again because it's such a vigorous growing plant. We have the other bloom that opened up. Again, it's not quite open all the way, but so the petals have to kind of flare out a little bit more. The flower itself will get a little bit bigger as tomorrow. This just opened today. Okay, so let's take a look at some more orchids, and we'll go from here. All right, and these orchids are in my orchid pergola. So I've got, as you can see, a lot of orchids, but I have room for a lot more. So I want to show you some of those that the Plant Propagator Junior gifted to me, and one of those is right here. And this is a Fred Clark catasetum, and it's just growing really pretty vigorously for this time of year. And I think there may even be another bulb coming out here. I'm not really sure what that is. This bloomed a lot for me last year, so I was pretty happy with its performance. And then I'm looking around, where are some other ones? Okay, so right here is a nobile, a Dendrobium nobile, that I think is it's got a little ways to go, so it'll get a little bit bigger, but that's another one that was gifted to me by the Plant Propagator Junior. And then over here we have this one right here, another catasetum that seems to be doing really well. This one I don't think has bloomed yet. So no, it hasn't. So this one hasn't bloomed yet, but that's a pretty vigorous growth that's coming out. So hopefully I'll get my bloom off of that. And then up here we have this is a Cattleya, and this is Dick Smith right here, and it's put out another bulb in the back, and there's actually a new growth and a new pseudobulb coming out of that. So I'm hopeful that it might take another year for this plant to bloom, but overall things look really good. It's a nice time of the year when most of my orchids putting out, they're putting out new pseudobulbs. So this is a good time to be around these guys. Everything looks good. It's all vigorous. I'm happy to be growing my orchids. Not too many flowers, but it's okay because I got such good growth. All right, so that's all I have for today. I might have kind of gone on a little too long, and I apologize for that. But I got a very special person operating the camera behind me, so I'm happy to keep on going. So that's all I have for today. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about what I do, please subscribe to my channel, and happy propagating.